From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Maybe the next time you hear that, wake up, it'll be said by Corey. But he's on the road right now, so we'll wait till he's in a pristine setting, either in his own office or at the Midtown offices, to uncork a wake up. It is Wake Up War Chant. We are presented by Zaxby's. And folks, since it is a somewhat condensed week with the 4th approaching, go ahead and leave your questions on the Tribal Council of WarChant.com for Renegade Express. We'll do that on Wednesday. Also leave your voicemail messages, 792-5730. The area code is 850-792-5730, and we'll get to all that later on in the week. WarChant.com remains your ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code WarChant30 if you're not already a member to get a free 30-day trial. Students, email us from your student email address at FSU. Email support at WarChant.com. You'll get a promo code for 12 months of access, $12. Incredible. Incredible. Speaking of, here he is, Corey Clark, everybody. Regale us. Tell us how you are, Corey.
Speaking of Zaxby's, how about Zaxby's catering the Nigel Bradham camp in sweet Wakulla over the weekend? That was cool to see in Crawfordville.
That's what
that was nice of Zaxby's.
You know, this is the slow time of year, quote unquote, although as I'm slowly learning, there is no slow time covering Florida State athletics. By the way, the entire athletic program we cover, 7th in the Directors' Cup standings. We'll get to that a little bit, but yeah, busy time. That dropped on Friday. Some recruiting stuff dropped on Friday. Michael Langston will join us later on in the program to talk about the recruiting ramifications of those two commits in terms of where that puts the Noles. They're 15th right now. I was over in Louisiana. Meanwhile, your guy, Irish O'Fell, our guy, your guy at home, went down to Wakulla, Crawfordville, to hang out with Nigel. And that was legitimately props to Ira. That was a great story, a great column that he wrote from that camp that Nigel held. And, you know, me being in local TV for 4 years, I mean, in just Mississippi alone, when I was in Montana, when I was in Mississippi, when I was in Alabama, there's always ex-players that come back home, and some of them put on some really cool camps. Others, it's kind of like daycare almost with footballs, and they don't even seem to really want to be there, but they're doing it for, you know, I don't know, the tax write-off purpose or because their mom said, hey, do something nice for the community, so they do it. But Nigel's camp seemed really cool. Ira captured that really cool moment between him and one of the campers, really kind of expressing to him just how important it is to focus on things beyond just football. And that sounds so cliche, and it sounds corny, and I get it. But I think even in a camp like that with a bunch of kids that God knows how many of them even really want to play football, how many of them were just sent out there because their parents needed some time away from the kid. But to see like Nigel try to connect with a kid, literally, if you impact one kid when you have those camps, it's got to be totally fulfilling. And I'm sure more than one kid walked away from that camp with a really strong positive message. He's a good dude. You covered him, right?
I did. I covered him as, I guess that would have been his senior year in high school at Wakulla. Him and C.J. Holton, who was a hard-hitting safety that eventually went to, I think he committed to Miami, signed with Miami. But, yeah, man, that's not fake with Nigel. Like, that's Crawfordville and Wakulla, that's in his blood, man. That's his DNA. You know, where I live up in Atlanta with Brady, you know, he lives in Gwinnett County. Well, so do 1 million other people. But Wakulla, they don't have 1 million people. Like, I think there's just a difference there. Like, when Brady gets famous, and obviously he will, and he'll come back to Gwinnett where he grew up in the Beaufort area and have a camp, well, he's not going to feel a real connection to those kids because, you know, they're coming from all over the county. There's a million people. Like, who knows what neighborhood those kids are from? Well, Nigel Bradham knows what neighborhood these kids are from because he grew up in these neighborhoods. Crawfordville, that's not a metropolis. So I really do think it means a lot when these kids when these guys, I shouldn't call Nigel Bradham a kid, But when these guys from these kind of towns, like a Crawfordville or maybe to a lesser extent Tallahassee's a pretty big city, but a Crawfordville or a Live Oak or someplace like that, when they come back to host a camp in their hometown, I really do think it means something to them. And I really do think when he's talking to that youngster from the camp and telling him how important academics is, he's not just saying that because he sees Irish FL's camera phone on him. Like he really knows how important that is. And I'm sure he knows a lot of guys or saw a lot of guys from his area that didn't care about academics enough to get a Division I scholarship, and who knows what they're doing now. Meanwhile, he's been in the NFL for a decade. So he understands how important academics are to a football player, how important they should be, and I think he was speaking from the heart there, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and again, I think it really does resonate when a kid sees a man like Nigel Bradham coming home and sharing that message. The teachers try to say it as much as they possibly can, but it ultimately rings hollow for far too many kids. But to have Nigel say it in a sincere moment, that was super cool to see. And shout out to Ira for working on the weekends. I mean, he works pretty much every day, 24 hours a day. Ira never sleeps. But he was out there grinding for everybody, giving us content. Meanwhile, I was in Louisiana, had myself some Zaxby's on the long trek out to Thibodaux, and it was the city that I stayed at was pronounced Homa, like Oklahoma, Houma.
Okay.
So that's where I stayed at, Homa. And do I pull back the curtain and tell the whole anxiety-riddled story of me going there and what might have been, or do we just focus on the positive?
I mean, I feel like you just probably should focus on the positive.
Okay.
Nobody cares about this stuff behind the scenes, Aslan. You know that.
Yeah, nobody cares about my feelings. So
sure,
you want to talk about camps and which ones are legit and which ones are just, what are we doing here, everybody? We just, it's just romper room for 2 hours. Dude, the Manning Passing Academy is ridiculous. If you send Brady next year. If a Florida State quarterback, if like James Blackman's invited next year, take Brady. Like sign Brady up. I'll drive him out there and he can go fling the ball around. It is such a well-run, well-organized, legitimate skills camp. I don't know if there's anything remotely in the same universe with it. It's huge. And, I get there at, 8:30 in the morning or whatever. Shout out, waking up early, everybody. I'm out there working for you. And they're going to have practice at 9, and then they're going to have media availability at 11 in the morning. So you go to practice to try to get some footage, obviously, of the camp counselors being out there. So I'm like, all right, I got to find Alex Hornibrook. Now they're all the campers, all the counselors, they're all on the actual football field at Nicholls State University, like where they play football, like in their football stadium. So they're on this, 120-yard football field, and it's just everybody. It's just humanity. You can't move. Everybody's there. And then over the intercom, they're like, all right, look at your sheets, and you can break now and go to your the football field that you're assigned to. And then it's just not mass chaos, but everybody just starts filtering and walking to certain corners of the campus. They've got 3 football fields by their baseball stadium. They've got the actual football field inside the football stadium that they're going to perform on. Then they've got, 8 football fields, Corey, that are cut up into thirds, on the other side adjacent to the football stadium. And I'm just like, where is Alex Hornibrook? How am I going to find him? And there's thousands of people out here right now. And I followed a guy that I thought was him. He had a red backpack. So I'm like, well, maybe he's got his Wisconsin gear still. I'm like, I'm going to follow him. He kind of looks like, he doesn't look like he's 13. He looks like he's 20-something. And he's got a red backpack. This has got to be him. So I'm following him. And sure enough, it's not Alex Hornibrook. But serendipitously, I stumble into Alex Hornibrook. So that was a good thing. Sorry for telling you all that story. You guys don't care about that. But the camp itself.
Who was it? Who was it?
It was some kid from Southeast Louisiana. I think he was a receiver. Yeah, so, it happens. But, I mean, it's crazy. Right. They've got the horns, just like Florida State, and every university has a football practice after, every period they blow the horn, and then you just rotate. You go from station. It's like you go from counselor to counselor. You go from talking to Jake Fromm, then you go and talk to Mason Fine from North Texas. You talk to Matt Corral from Ole Miss. You talk to You obviously talked to Alex Hornibrook. There's just every big-time quarterback is there. Trevor Lawrence was there. Tua Tagovailoa was the only no-show. Apparently he had a hamstring injury that he didn't want to aggravate, so he didn't show up. But then, yeah, Eli Manning's out there. Then you go and you hang out with Eli Manning for 20 minutes, and he's talking to you about, the proper way to drop and the way to keep. I mean, just it's incredible, and it's so well organized. I can't even imagine. I don't even think it's that expensive, and it's just a great environment. It's a great atmosphere, and you learn so much, I bet, if you're a kid. And, send Brady out there. He doesn't have to be a quarterback. They've got receivers and stuff, too. And I know he's got the shake. He's got the move. Shake and bake.
Yeah, I feel like he's got the arm to be a quarterback, though. I don't understand, though, what's going on here. It sounds like you're basically giving the Manning Passing Academy a sponsorship
they should,
on Wake Up War Chant, and they haven't bought it. Okay. They haven't paid. And Lord knows the Mannings have the money to pay for a sponsorship on Wake Up War Chant. So I feel like we don't need to talk glowingly about this camp anymore until we get some money from them. And then we'll say whatever we want to say. Then I'll send Brady to that camp.
All right.
But until they give us money, I'm not sending Brady to that camp. You crazy?
It's crazy.
Plus, he's probably going to be a punter.
And I don't think so. He's got the arm. But then they're
right.
so they're done with the practice. Then 11 o'clock in the morning, the media availability starts. Archie gives an opening statement, and then it's just all the players, like all these top quarterbacks, from Ole Miss, from Stanford, from Southern Miss, from LSU's quarterbacks out there. Everybody's there. Jake Fromm's there. Jake Fromm's mic'd up from SEC Network, and then Peyton Manning and Archie Manning and Eli Manning are at the front talking to whoever wants to go and talk to them. And then we get Alex Hornibrook, too, so that was fantastic. So, yeah, got to speak to Alex Hornibrook. You wrote a pretty nice little column, at least wrapping up the 15-minute or so interview that I try to perform and get done. You obviously had your takeaways. What were they? And share them with the class, because I don't even remember what I asked him or what he said. I was just constantly in a state of, let me ask another question to keep this thing going. Like he kind of kept trying to wrap me up, and I was like, no, dude, I drove 7 hours for this, Alex.
Kudos to you, buddy, for not only being out there, but, he kept trying to say, I'm just excited to get started.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to get started, as if, so you can stop asking me questions now, because I'm, you know what I am? I'm just excited to get started.
Yeah.
But you kept going for almost like 15 minutes or close to 15 minutes. So kudos to you for actually asking him a lot of questions. Because, he kind of kept trying to wrap it up as quickly as possible. My takeaways were, obviously, if you're a War Chant subscriber, I don't want to give it all away.
Yeah, don't do that.
But number one, did he never mention Wisconsin? Which I didn't. Did you notice that as you were talking to him, that he kept that? I don't want to say kept, but he referred to it as the school I was at or the place I was at, and not just Wisconsin. Did you notice that at all when you were talking to him?
I did, but I didn't think it was really a sort of like a tell. Also, I mean, not to pull the curtain back, but part of I was told to only ask him about this upcoming season and the camp. So it was sort of outlined to me to not talk about Wisconsin, but I didn't care. That's not my account. This isn't Wake Up Badgers. It's not BadgerNation.com. It's WarChant.com. I don't really think anybody cares about his tenure really at Wisconsin. And if you do,
no, I think, and I don't care either. I just thought it was noticeable to me when I was watching it. Like, well, that's kind of weird that he's staying the school I'm from or the place I'm from. But I also think, I mentioned it in my column, like, look, you can look at that one or two ways. Either he doesn't have a lot of love for the place he just left, which maybe, I don't know any of the backstory there, or he's at a place called Florida State, and he doesn't want to be the guy that keeps bringing up Wisconsin. It's like when you start dating someone, and then you keep bringing up Brad
or Kristen,
or whoever, Stacy. Like, oh, well, Stacy used to always do that. I mean, nobody wants to hear that. So maybe he was just trying to be polite and not mentioning the school by name that he was from. It just was noticeable to me, and that's the only reason I mentioned it. Is like, look, that was striking to me that he never mentioned the word Wisconsin, although he had 4 or 5 times to mention it. But more than anything, the thing that stuck out is, my man's not in Tallahassee to cheer on James Blackman, is he?
He's not.
He thinks he's going to win that job. I assume you certainly got that vibe from talking to him.
I did, and it's one of those things where I don't think Mike Wallace could ask him a question and get the right answer. I don't think we could ask, Kendall. Maybe I could have asked some more follow-ups, but I just do wonder. And I did kind of ask him, and he mentioned that any coach or any program can tell you that you have a chance, but ultimately you have to kind of believe. I think he said something about you have to believe in yourself, or you have to trust it for yourself more so than their words. But I do wonder. James is nobody's. I mean, James Blackman is a coachless quarterback almost. Willie didn't recruit him. I know Willie recruited him at USF, but he didn't sign with Willie. He didn't sign with Kendall Briles. Meanwhile, he sat behind DeAndre Francois in the midst of the worst season this program's had in 35 years or however long it had been. And it feels like Kendall Briles most likely spearheaded getting Hornibrook to Tallahassee. So you figure if he's reaching out to him or leading the charge on that he feels good about his skill set and how it translates to his offense. So, what do you ultimately hear if you're a guy like Alex Hornibrook when other schools are hitting you up that you're like, no, I'm going to pick Florida State? He talked about that, he likes the fact that there was a down year because everybody wants to really turn things around, which sounds good, but I do wonder what sort of, not assurances, but I do wonder what the conversation was like for him to ultimately decide to come to Florida State. Because a lot of people point out James Blackman is owed nothing. James Blackman doesn't deserve to be the starting quarterback. It should be earned, all that sort of stuff. That's your prerogative, so be it. But it's he's a competitor, so I'm not gonna try to parse everything he said because he's only got 1 year left to play football. He's only has 1 year guaranteed to play football. He's not gonna. The NFL is not a guaranteed or a given for him, so you want to go somewhere and try to play. Obviously, it is interesting he chose here, but again, I mean, it is maybe it's more wide open than we would like to think because James Blackman's just so darn likable. We would like to think he's got this thing cinched up, but. It doesn't sound like Alex Hornibrook was given any sort of indication that he's got an uphill battle in front of him.
Yeah, and you also, obviously, like I said in the column, you wouldn't want a guy that, came here to be a backup. You want a guy, like it's his last year. And it's not like he's coming from Rice or Texas State. I mean, he's coming from Wisconsin. They played in Orange Bowls with him as the starting quarterback. So he wants to come to Florida State to not only win the job, he expects to win the job, but to win a lot of games because that's what he's used to. But, I've watched that guy play for the last, 2 or 3 years. And I know I can't even remember what my tweet was, something about him pretending to be left-handed when he was actually right-handed or whatever it was. But he's never been all that impressive. And I think I almost got caught up in it a little bit, like watching that video, watching the interview, like, you know what? He carries himself like a starting quarterback. Like he talked about making friends with the offensive lineman, and he's rooming with Ryan Roberts from Northern Illinois, and he's talking up to Morian Terry, and he's going mud bogging with those guys and all that stuff. I was like, he's doing everything that a starting quarterback needs to do. You know what? He does have a chance to win this thing. And then I thought, and then I have to catch myself and be like, okay, well, what about all the times you watch him at Wisconsin? And it's like, oh yeah, he's just not that good. And that's not to say he can't be good in this system, but he hasn't proven anything other than starting at a place that runs the ball 80% of the time. He hasn't proven anything so far in his career that would lead you to believe, okay, yeah, he's definitely going to come in and win this job over a guy that's been here for 3 years. On the same token, they're both kind of going into the same – Blackman and him, who really has a leg up in Kendall Briles' system? It's not like we're still running Jimbo Fisher's system, and James Blackman's been running it for 2.5 years, and Hornibrook is supposed to learn it on the fly. Like, that's not happening. Like, Blackman has a spring advantage over Hornibrook, but it's also an offense that doesn't even have a playbook. So I don't know how much of a disadvantage Hornibrook is right now when it comes how far behind he is James Blackman when it comes to knowing the offense when the offense doesn't even necessarily have a playbook. So, I think right now, obviously, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if Hornibrook beat out Blackman, but not because Blackman's been here longer, just because I've watched them both play. And to me, I think Blackman is a better quarterback. But, that doesn't mean it's necessarily true, and it certainly doesn't mean that's what Kendall Briles believes. I just think James Blackman is a better quarterback. I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with how good a teammate he is, or that he's a different kind of skinny, or he's from Belglade, or he knows all these guys. Whatever, he's a true Seminole. I just think James Blackman has more upside and is a better quarterback than Alex Hornibrook, but that doesn't necessarily make it so, and we'll see who runs the offense better, right? But, I don't know why that interview, it didn't really change the way I thought about things necessarily, but it certainly made me realize, okay, I keep kind of just dismissing this as look, this guy will play if Blackman gets hurt. Well, that's not his mindset at all. He's here to win the job. And his mindset is James Blackman will play if I get hurt. And that just never even dawned on me. And that's dumb. That's not to defend my position. That's just how I felt about things. But I do think looking at it now that I think it'll go to the best guy. Nobody's earned this thing. And Kendall Briles certainly doesn't feel like he owes anything to James Blackman. And neither does Willie Taggart. He made that quite obvious last season.
Yes, obviously.
So it really will be the person that wins the job in August. Nobody has a leg up as far as, I've been here longer, it's my job, or the teammates like me better. Man, Willie Taggart and Kendall Briles don't care at all about that. It's just who runs the offense better. And with that in mind, Hornibrook does have a chance to win this thing.
He has to win via knockout. He can't win on points. I
Sure,
don't think,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, sure.
Because I don't care. I still don't care what anybody says, and I don't know how much different 18 is if Blackman starts the entire season. Maybe 1 or 2 games tops. But I'd never walked out of practices thinking DeAndre Francois is clearly a better quarterback than James Blackman. Never. I never was like, wow, he really. It just felt like, well, it's kind of it's a stalemate. They both miss throws, they both make good throws. That's what they do every single day we're out here. Obviously, we don't see the entire practice, but it was just hard to imagine that DeAndre did something that made you think, wow, when we weren't there. Like, oh wow, that's why we'll stick with him despite the fact that we're now 3-6. And I'm not trying to beat up on the kid there, but I just do wonder if maybe like James Blackman will almost have that benefit of the doubt now. Like, even when we're out there, if he misses 2 throws and Hornibrook misses 2 throws, and they both each make 3 throws, is it going to be one of those things where, Blackman, we're just going to kind of ride with him and we just feel, gives us the best chance to win or, to keep everything sort of intact. It would be I think if Alex Hornibrook, there's no middle ground with him. If he starts, it's either a really bad thing because Blackman's gotten hurt, or he does really well and has made it apparent to not only the coaches and us, but the teammates and the team that he is the better option. It's still hard to imagine that happening, but I think those are the paths to victory for him.
Yeah, and again, James Blackman has not done anything, and I like the kid a lot. I really do. I like talking to him. I think he's a good leader. I think he has a chance to be a really good quarterback, or a good quarterback. He's a really good leader. But, he's done nothing to just say that I deserve to start in 2019. He has done nothing in his career at Florida State that just says it's my job. He has to go win it. This isn't a thing where – but, yeah, if everything's equal, I do think you go with Blackman. If they can't decide, if they're like, man – yeah. James was great on Tuesday and Thursday, but man, Hornibrook lit it up, Monday and Wednesday. I don't think that will sway them one way or the other. I think if it's even, then it's Blackman's. Number one, because he's a younger, so you get another year with him, but also because the teammates know him better, and I just think that would. And the fans know him, and if it's exactly even, I think you would go with the guy that's been here longer. But what if it's 53-47 in favor of Hornibrook? Well, I have no doubt in my mind that they go with Hornibrook. If they think he even gives them just a slight better chance to win, I think they go with him because they don't feel Taggart and Briles did not recruit Blackman at all. That's not their guy.
Right.
They don't feel beholden to him at all. They want to win. In fact, Taggart has to win to keep his job. So he's not going to go with Blackman just out of loyalty when it's not really loyalty to him in the first place because he didn't commit to him. He committed to another coach and a whole other staff. So again, you watch that interview and you're like, man, this guy carries himself. Talking about Hornibrook, he carries himself like a guy that's going to come in here and win the job. He's mature. He's won a lot of games. He's been in a lot of big games. Now, meanwhile, obviously, granted, a lot of those games were just handing it off, but he was in a lot of games, played in a lot of big moments. Yeah, man, it wouldn't be the end of the world if he was the starting quarterback at Florida State. That might be the best thing for Florida State. But then I keep flashing back to the times I watched him play.
Yeah.
And it just was never anything that blew me away. Not that James Blackman ever blew me away either, but this kid this isn't Russell Wilson transferring in. This isn't a kid that's just won games by himself. This isn't this type of quarterback. But he's also never been in an offense like this. Yeah. And maybe, you never know, maybe it just clicks with him. Maybe August 9th, Kendall Briles is watching Alex Hornibrook run the offense and going, good grief, this kid is unbelievable. He just gets it all. Like, we've just unleashed this guy that all he did was hand off 80% of the time in the Big Ten. Well, he can make all the throws. He makes all the reads. He gets out of his hands quickly. He is left-handed. He's not just pretending that way like he's Princess Bride. He really does throw left-handed. He is awesome. Let's let him run this show. Like, we don't know how it's going to fit with this offense because he's never run it before. But also, James Blackman's never really run it before. He's never run Kendall Briles' system specifically, so except for the 1 month. So he doesn't really have a leg up on Hornibrook. Either way, I think the thing is, I don't know why that interview changed my mind at all. And it didn't really change my mind. I still think Blackman's going to be the guy. But I'm certainly not I think if you would have asked me a week ago, would you be stunned if Hornibrook was the starting quarterback, I'd have said yes. But now if you ask me that, I'd be like, no, not really. And I don't know why an interview would change my mind like that. It shouldn't. But that kid is so confident. He talks as if he was I don't know, he just talks as if he's expecting to win the job, and he thinks he's going to win the job. Also, almost like he knows something that we don't. So, I wouldn't be stunned now if Alex Hornibrook was the starting quarterback against Boise State. I don't know. I don't know why a 13-minute exclusive with War Chant would make me change my mind like that, but it did.
Exclusive.
So do with that what you will.
Do you think there's an easier way to – let me see how I can phrase this. If it's even-ish, if it's 51-49 in favor of one of those guys, I know coaches don't think this way, but us – doing a show on July 1st, which, by the way, it's July 1st. Can you believe that? Where's the time gone, friend? Here we are.
Man, I am 44. Yeah. I still feel like I'm 18. I still feel like I can't even get into bars, and I'm 44. I'm old enough to be a granddad. This is nuts. I'm tired of being this old. I was at a bar the other night, Aslan. I'll be honest with you. Our waitress was I was playing Keno. Do you know what Keno is?
I don't know how to play it, but I know of it, yeah.
It's basically just lottery. You go to a bar, and they have it on the TV. It's like you pick these numbers, you hand it to them. It's like the lottery, essentially. You just pick 4 numbers. You play over 5 draws or 10 draws, and you hope your numbers hit. Well, anyway, I said one of my numbers was 17. Now, she didn't know this, but I chose 17 for Charlie Ward. But I say 17, and she goes, oh, that's a good number. And I go, okay, you big Charlie Ward fan? And she goes, no, that's my birthday. And I go, okay, what month? She goes, yeah, January 17th. And I go, oh, 1992? And it was, no, 1994. And then the buddy that I was with was like, yeah, that's a year after Corey graduated high school. And everybody had a big laugh. But, it's crazy that I was buying a Keno ticket from somebody that was born in 1994. What are we doing? How are we almost in 2020? That doesn't even seem real. I'm almost in my mid-40s. I am in my mid-40s. Hopefully, God willing, I'm going to be 50 soon enough. It's ridiculous, Aslan. You're not even 40 yet. You don't even know.
I feel it too, though, man. My hair's falling out. It's terrible.
It's ridiculous being this old. And I am doing Just for Men.
All right.
I talked about it with a buddy of mine. He says I shouldn't do jet black because that would look ridiculous. But I am doing Just for Men just to see what it looks like. That's what it should be called. Instead of Just for Men, it should just be called Let's Just See What It Looks Like. But I do want to, because I can always shave it. But I'm gonna see what it looks like because I'm tired of all the gray hair on my chin. Anyway, I don't even remember what you said. Just that we're getting old.
that, and it's something that fans talk about. It's nothing that coaches think about. But again, it's July 1st, so let's humor you folks for a few more minutes, and then we'll have Michael Langston talk about recruiting. Like, would it be easier to start Blackman and then go to Hornibrook, or start Hornibrook and go to Blackman if things don't start off right?
I think it would be even. I don't think there's really an advantage or disadvantage either way. Yeah. Like, what's Hornibrook going to do if he doesn't start? Quit?
Right.
You know what I mean? He's still going to be on the team. I think, if you start Hornibrook and have Blackman as a backup again, I feel like he's the type of player that would still be very much cheering for Florida State and would be into Florida State winning and would be into the game plan on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. I think if it's the other way around and if Blackman is starting and Hornibrook is the backup, I don't know how much he's really diving into the Boise State defense or the Alabama State defense or whoever they're playing, the NC State defense. I think he might just be like, well, this was a mistake. And he might be saying that for the 4 months. So I think if you had to choose one way or the other, one route to go, I think for sure, because you saw it last year, I think for sure that Blackman would still be invested because these are his guys. This is his school. I don't know if you could say the same thing about Hornibrook, but again, that's just a guess. And I do think that if Hornibrook was asked to play, that it's not like he'd go out there and just kind of, I don't half butt it. I wanted to say the A word, but I won't.
Thank you. It's late. I don't want to go here and
he's not going to half butt it. I think he's going to go out there and try to win and try to play well because and he's used to winning games, a lot of games. So, I don't know. I think I feel like you'd be better off. I think Blackman would be a better backup quarterback than Hornibrook, but I also think Blackman would be a better starting quarterback than Hornibrook. So that's my answer. Long-winded answer.
So I drove out to Thibodaux, Louisiana, about 6.5 hours to talk to Alex Hornibrook.
Mm-hmm.
Like, should I start tailing Kendall Briles and just talk to him at a Publix? Just kind of like, not ambush him, but, just pop out of a bush with my camera and be like, yo, wake up. Got a couple questions. That's the next part of this puzzle, right? Because
have we not talked to him at all?
No.
Like, he hasn't been made available at all.
At all. Nobody. Because
that's pretty dumb. That's pretty dumb by and Willie Taggart obviously in the offseason doesn't make a lot of bad moves. He does pretty much everything pretty well. Well, 2 years in a row now.
He's
done,
undefeated,
he's done pretty
brother.
darn well.
He is undefeated from like March to July. Our guy, untouchable.
But this is a mistake, in my opinion. I know there are Florida State fans that say it doesn't matter. Let's just win. You don't have to talk to Kendall Briles to cheer for the team or to care about the team. But man, how many offensive coordinators does Florida State had in the last 3 decades? 4? 5? Maybe? Mark Richt, Jeff Bowden, Jimbo, and then Kendall Briles. Like, I guess we can call Walt Bell, one, but
Randy
Sanders.
Like
4 or 5
Respect Randy Sanders, Corey. Randy Sanders, darn it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so there's been like 5. And this guy
James
is
Coley.
one of the guys that we think is turning it around. Like, he's the reason that people are optimistic.
Yeah.
He is the reason. It ain't Alex Hornibrook, and it is not Tamori Terry or Cam Akers because they were all on the team last year. The reason that people are so optimistic, if they are at all, about this upcoming season is because of Kendall Briles, and we are now in July, and we have not talked to that person. That, to me, is just a misstep because – again, it's not the media. I'll say this every time because I'll keep hammering it home until you folks get it. It's not that I care about talking to Kendall Briles. I have gotten paid the exact same salary the last 6 months without talking to Kendall Briles. We have talked to Kendall Briles. But I would feel like you guys would want to hear from Kendall Briles. Why did he take the job? What excites him about Florida State? What does he think he can get accomplished? What's he looking to do? All those things are things you should care about. And we haven't gotten a chance to talk to him. That's bizarre. Even Jimbo would let his new hires typically talk once, and then he'd zip their lips, for the next 4 years. But he would let us talk to him once. We haven't gotten to talk to Kendall Briles at all, and I just think that's bizarre because he is the guy. He is the reason people are optimistic, if they are, about the 2019 season. So hopefully we get that in August, and I assume we'll get it like we got with Walt Bell, where we got to talk to him once a week. So which was cool. Like, I don't want to dismiss that. That was much better than what we got under the former regime. But it is odd that he was hired in January. We are now in July, and we still have not talked to Kendall Briles.
Yeah.
Who is an offensive genius, apparently. He's an offensive savant. It'd be cool to hear from him and what he plans to do this season.
I anticipate we'll talk to him at Media Day, whenever that is. But
yeah, so August 12th, August 14th, something like that.
I would like to talk to him. I mean, I would like to differ off your point. I would like to talk to him for my own, professional sort of edification here. I mean, how can we talk about who's going to win this quarterback battle if we don't even know the guy that's going to pick we assume is going to have a large opinion, a large sort of, hold sway on who's going to be the starter if we can't pick his brain on what he's looking for and how he's going to do things. I mean, I don't think Walt Bell was joking around, and I don't think Willie Taggart was joking around either. I think they did break down every single throw that Francois and Blackman made in practice. They graded every single thing. Does he approach it that way, or is it more of a feel thing? Are there certain throws that are more important than other throws that he grades differently? I don't know. These are things that hopefully we'll find out. I'll figure out what Publix he goes to, or maybe what Zaxby's he goes to, and then I'll not attack him, just aggressively pursue him with my camera in the parking lot of his favorite Zaxby's in the greater Tallahassee.
You need to look up, are Zaxby's in Texas? Can you look that up right now real quick?
Certainly.
Because I don't know if he's ever been to a Zaxby's, if he's spent his whole life in Texas.
Well, he was at FAU. Yeah, they got Zaxby's all over the place. They got some in Houston.
I mean, they got to be in Texas. Okay, good. Yeah. So of course he's been to Zaxby's. I mean, who is around a Zaxby's and lives near a Zaxby's and doesn't go to Zaxby's? Here's the answer: no one.
No one.
Everybody goes to Zaxby's if they got the chance. So yeah, Kendall Briles has been to a Zaxby's. So I would assume. I think he's more of he's probably a Zaxby's on Tennessee guy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I mean, all we got to do, I mean, you probably know when he's going to leave, especially in the summer. He probably leaves at 6:30. Mm-hmm. Just tail him home.
I agree.
And then get on, and we'll talk about his address.
Yep.
His phone number, all that. We'll give that out over there. Whatever we got to do. But more than anything, we need to find out what Zaxby's he goes to.
Okay. They're opening one in Niceville and one in Arab, Alabama, coming soon.
Man, they're flying up all over the place.
I mean,
did they have one in Thibodaux? Did you see one?
I did on the way there. I stopped and grabbed a box. That's what I do.
No, I know you did on the way there, but did they have one in actual Thibodaux proper?
Thibodaux proper. Let me check the address on it. I should look and dig through my receipts here. I don't think there was one in Thibodaux proper. There was not, but there was one off the interstate.
Okay. All right. Well, that counts still.
Yeah. Last thing, shout out to John Ermer. He tweeted at us, listening to Corey and Aslan on Wake Up War Chant, makes the bus ride to work in Havana so much more enjoyable for this FSU alum. Thanks for keeping me sane on the flip side of the Florida Straits with a little piece of home. #tribe. So at first I thought he took the bus from Tallahassee to Havana, up Highway 27. But no, he's on the island. He's out there, Florida Straits.
What do you mean? He's on Cuba?
Yeah, Cuba. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Havana, Cuba.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? What made you decipher that from Havana, Florida?
The Florida Straits. He says, "Thanks for keeping me sane on the flip side of the Florida Straits." Plus,
okay, gotcha.
Plus, there's an accompanying photo that has a 1956 car in it, and that's all they drive down in Cuba, we hear. So,
isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy that Cuba was a huge tourist destination for whatever until the late 50s?
Yeah,
is that right?
Something back
then. And then obviously we all remember that Fredo broke Michael Corleone's heart during the uprising, during the revolution, and he broke his heart. He kissed him on the lips and figured out that it was Fredo that had backstabbed him and two-timed him. But I feel like that was like 1959. And since then, Cuba has been stuck in like 1959.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about it, and I can speak with that with some authority, and I can say this now because my dad has been dead for almost 8 years, but he used to go to Cuba all the time. Like he fell in love with that country. So he would, I think he would fly to Jamaica, and then from Jamaica to Cuba, I can't remember. But he'd bring back, a bunch of cigars and rum and everything else. And then he'd go down there and take medicine to people in the villages. Really bizarre, right? Like that, my dad would have such a love affair with that place, but he did. He fell in love with that country really until the day he died. He loved Cuba. So hopefully one of these days, maybe it can be, a normal country again that we can go visit and can get caught up in the 21st century. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, we were there almost. It almost happened, and then it didn't happen.
It did not happen. I thought we were heading that way. That it was going to be okay. It's going to be like Key West almost, but it hasn't quite turned out to be that way.
Yeah, it's all right though. We're getting there. Folks, I don't know what we're going to do the rest of the week. We'll probably have at least one more show. We'll do a Renegade Express at some point, but I would go ahead and plan to not hear from us on Thursday and Friday. It's the 4th. And
right.
Friday, we'll probably take that off as well. Then we'll reconvene likely the following Monday. But do leave your questions over on the Tribal Council. Leave your phone calls, the voicemail messages, 850-792-5730, and we will do that later on in the week. We're not signing off because Michael Langston's coming up right after this. Keep it here.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Certainly, Corey.
So do you think we'll have a show before July 4th or not? What are the odds? 50-50 at best?
No, 99%. We'll have one for sure before 4th of July because I'm going to have Renegade Express is already up right now on warchant.com on the Tribal Council.
Okay, well then I'll say what I'm about to say now, and then I'm going to say it again in a few days. But if you haven't had a chance, and I don't know why I'm bringing this up other than we're going to see a bunch of fireworks shows in the next few weeks or the next few days, and I had one in my neighborhood last night, actually, 2 nights ago. If you get a chance, go to YouTube and look up the 2012 San Diego fireworks show. Because if you don't know, somehow, and I was talking with a buddy of mine about this, and I was reminded of it when I was watching another fireworks show at a Gwinnett Stripers game, a baseball minor league baseball game. San Diego somehow, in their fireworks show, had a computer glitch where all the fireworks were lit up at once. So instead of a 27-minute show, it is like a 30-second bombardment of all the fireworks going off. They literally all explode at one time. So just go to YouTube, and I'm almost positive it was 2012, but look up San Diego Fireworks 2012, and it is the best thing you will ever see. It is a 35-second fireworks show, which was supposed to last 30 minutes, and just appreciate how loud and how many explosives were in there.
All right, oh gosh. Make it stop, Aslan. That's ridiculous.
Did you find it?
I did. It's like blowing.
Was that it? Was it 2012?
Yes.
How awesome is it? It is literally just. It looks like a fireball for 30 seconds. And my buddy of mine was like, he's like, yeah, imagine being on the lawn there watching that huge display and going, holy moly! If it starts off like this, how is it going to finish? Like, this is incredible. And then it's 30 seconds and it's done. It is like, all right, folks, drive home safely.
Jeez. It looks like the end of the world, man. It's crazy.
I mean, and the funny thing is, it happened on 3 different barges. They had 3 different barges all set to go off, and they all went off at once. So it's 30 seconds of, like I said, I would guess $300,000 worth of fireworks
at least,
that all go off and are exploded in 30 seconds. So go YouTube that. You'll really enjoy it.
All right, keep it here, folks. It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Coming right back with Michael Langston breaking down recruiting.
You're listening to Wake Up War Chant low-carb beer for the Seminole soul. Back to Aslan and Corey.
Here we go. As stated, Michael Langston joining us here on Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's to give us an update on the recruiting front and the aspect of Florida State's football program at this juncture. How was Atlanta, by the way, Michael? I know we talked when you were out there, but you had another day afterwards. How were things out there at the 5-Star Challenge last week?
That was pretty good. I mean, I had a really good time and some very good talent there, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of I think good content that we got out of it.
So I figured you probably figured that you had your work done for the week after being in Atlanta the whole entire week, but then you come back and Florida State quickly adds 2 guys to the recruiting class. Florida State currently now, as of the recording of this program, 15th in the nation in the recruiting rankings. They picked up an offensive lineman, position of need. They picked up a tight end, position of need. The players aren't household names, even in the recruiting circles. Alex Hornibrook, I think is the way we pronounce the name. I'm not sure he's the offensive lineman. That's at IMG Academy. And then Carter Boatwright is the tight end from Colquitt County.
Right.
So, I don't want to talk about what their game translates to or anything like that, but you're so in tune and in touch with what goes on with Florida State's recruiting, and you know that they're always working every angle trying to find the best players they can to fit into this program. But when they get 2 kids that aren't really on the radar of most recruiting analysts and aren't household names, sort of, are these must-haves, or is Florida State showing some sort of we know something everybody else doesn't know, or is this simply a fact of the season's right around the corner, get guys on board that you think can fit your style, but maybe just kind of get a spark, get some momentum on board?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of a few things you said there, Aslan. And I think certainly they know they need offensive linemen in this class. Things didn't look like they were trending in a good direction with Richie Leonard, who's getting ready to announce. I don't expect that to be FSU, as already reported on the boards, but I think that's a guy where this kid can play. He's going to play guard more than likely at FSU. They knew they had to get one. I think they've been recruiting them for a couple of months, and they like him. They went out there and got together as a staff, and this is a guy they liked that kind of fit everything that they wanted to do. But and so I think they pulled the trigger. But I think it was a combination. They knew, like, we got to get somebody, and we got to get this guy and this guy. And you get to some points too where, this kid's starting to heat up. I mean, he's got NC State offers, Indiana, Illinois. Teams are starting to hit him up. Auburn's starting to hit him up. So if you don't take him now, you can end up not getting this kid later on if he fully blows up. So I think FSU kind of saw the writing on the wall that, hey, if we don't do this now, we might not get this kid. And so very talented kid. They're very high on. I know the staff's very high on. So, and talking about Alex, the offensive lineman. So I think that was kind of a combination of several things where you need the guard. And it also tells you what a grind this is going to be for them in the offensive line recruiting. It has been really tough sledding, as far as getting guys in here. And it's a tough situation because you're trying to sell kids on what you're potentially going to be without kids actually seeing that on a football field against another opponent. And sure, they've seen them in the spring game, and they've looked great, and the offense looks great. It's going to look like it's going to be fun to see, but kids don't really have much to base FSU on as far as a product, and I think that's the thing that a lot of kids are waiting on. So that's kind of the thing they're battling. Is we all know Clements comes from a great pedigree as far as coaching offensive linemen, but at the same time, kids have to see it. So that's kind of what they're fighting.
Alex Hornibrook, I think I'm going to say this time around. 6'5", 286-pound guard or tackle. He'll be playing at IMG Academy, 2-star.
Right.
I'm looking at his tape here on the small little window as I'm looking at his bio on Rivals.com. I mean, I don't know what kind of competition he was playing before he went to IMG, but he looks good enough to me. I mean, and I know that sounds really lazy, but I know people hear 2-star and they think, oh gosh, what does that mean? This kid's putting his hands on people and moving them around. And again, I don't know what the level of competition is, but this doesn't look to be some sort of overweight kid that's just muscling, undersized kids up and is just simply just going off brute strength or, just being a
right.
massive of a human being. So definitely something for Florida State to work with there. Now, you mentioned Richie Leonard. The crazy thing, and when I saw the War Chant breaking alert come down on my phone about Florida State lands an offensive line recruit, I'm like, oh, that's, finally Richie Leonard comes into the fold. So he's no longer probably coming to Florida State. What kind of happened there, if you could give us the update on that, Michael? Because that was somebody I thought Florida State stood really well for.
I don't know the reason. I was just told, we put it on our site that one source had told me that it was going to be either Tennessee or Kentucky. Another source told me they'd probably be Florida State, and this is the Tennessee side of things. told me he thought it'd be Florida State or Tennessee. I bought more into the one that told me about Kentucky and Tennessee. Now Florida's still in it, so he could end up picking Florida, but just the one consistent I hear is like Tennessee in both of those instances. So I haven't heard anything about Florida State. Now he could ultimately pick Florida State. I don't know. He's done a good job of keeping things up to the vest. It's just, and I haven't heard any reason of anything that's dipping for FSU that he doesn't like. But just the information I had, just from people around, didn't seem like FSU was going to pull it off at this point. But we'll see. But going into, I think we got like 5 days to go before he decides. I would not be surprised if it's Tennessee or Kentucky. Gotcha. That's kind of the view I got.
Michael Langston joining us here on Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's, talking about Florida State football recruiting. Carter Boatwright, another commit for the Noles, a tight end again out of Colquitt County. That helps build a pipeline to a really talent-rich high school in South Georgia. He's a tight end, 6'5", 225. He's a 3-star. I mean, this is obviously a good thing because, again, this is a position of need, and you're pulling a kid from a school that it never hurts to create a pipeline to.
Yeah, and this is a kid I know a little bit more about because I've watched him play. Very athletic tight end and very physical. Plays a lot in their run situations as far as, lead as the lead blocker and in the run situations where he really busts that hole and opens it up with the running game. And everyone knows Colquitt's had one of the best running games out there. And he definitely is one of the lead blockers with a lot of what they do, but he's also very athletic, good hands. He can do a lot of different things in the red zone. So I can see why they took him. He's a guy that's, quite talented. Maybe he's not as defined as, some of your top tight ends out there, but he's certainly a guy that you can see why they like him so much. I think he camped at FSU, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I've heard that he did. But he's a guy that this isn't like a surprise to them because he's a guy that they've been on, but probably when they didn't get a few other guys, this kind of opened up a slot for him where it's like, okay, well, we like this guy too. He was just a notch down lower than these other guys, but we like everything he does and what he fits for our program. So I think they went all in, and that's kind of how the thing went with Carter.
Dang, and I'm looking at Sage Ennis from Lincoln. He committed to Clemson. Look at that.
Oh yeah, that was like a week ago.
Yeah, I'm living under a rock. I thought that was trending well for Florida State. Look at that. So I mean, basically, and you're saying this pretty much as diplomatically, as you can. And it's this is not a knocker, as you like to say. It's not a downgrade to anybody or anything. But ultimately, Florida State, this from now until the end of August, they're sort of backs against the wall, uphill battle to try to get the elite recruits in this country. And nothing's going to really change, it doesn't seem like, until they play an actual football game and win and look good doing it, it feels like. Is that kind of, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of what it feels like for me.
That's what it kind of feels like to a certain degree for me. So I'd say to a certain degree, because there's some kids that are sold on what they're potentially going to be. So you're going to get a few of those guys. Now, I wouldn't say you're going to get a lot of those elite guys, but you're going to get a few of those guys that will buy into what you're going to be and seeing enough where they feel comfortable enough with the culture and what you run that it fits them perfectly. But another thing that hurts them, and FSU probably doesn't like this, but the fact that they haven't let kids officially visit in the summer. Like they're encouraging kids to all visit in the fall. And in my opinion, that's killing them, because here you are, you have kids like, Thomas Schrader, Jalen Knight, and Keziah Holmes. All these guys are taking official visits to different places. And for fans that don't know, there's a big difference between an official visit and a regular unofficial visit. Like, you don't get to see as much. It's much more detailed. It's much more, you can do so many more things on an official visit than what you can do in an unofficial. And the word I got was the FSU's kind of encouraged guys, we don't want to take summer visits and summer official visits. And a lot of that's because of what happened last year with Nick Cross. But I just don't agree with that. I just think it's hurting them, because I think these kids are, before these kids took these visits, the 3 guys I just named you, these guys FSU was leading for. And they were seeing the good spot, but they're seeing something on an official visit that they haven't seen on, because you don't see as much on the unofficial visits, and I think it's hurting FSU. And we'll see how it works, because FSU has the July 27th thing. That's going to be a big event. Maybe that can override those official visits, but I think when this time of the frame of recruiting, if a kid's deciding early in the summer, you got to make sure you get them in for official visits.
So,
I mean, that's just my view, Aslan. It's like,
so
Michael,
when you're camped out front of Moore for 5, 7, 9 hours in a day, these kids by and large have not been on official visits?
Nope.
Oh wow, I didn't realize.
No, these are just unofficial visits, and they get to experience some of the things around FSU, but you can experience so much more.
Yeah.
Because the school's saying for it on official visit, it's just so much different. It's such, I can't explain to fans out there how much different an official visit is to an unofficial visit. It's like, it's so much more that you experience than what you experience on the unofficial visit.
Yeah, just
think
about everybody. Think about going out to dinner and you have to pay for everybody, and then think about you going out to dinner and then you're getting paid, your meal's taken care of pretty much. I mean, just on a small sort of scale. That's quite wild, because I thought Willie and the staff was all about keeping things open, go around and visit and just make sure you know what you want when you do pull the trigger. You'd figure they'd want to put their best foot forward and get these kids on campus for official visits in the summer, if that's what these other kids are doing at other campuses. So like Schrader, Holmes, and Knighton, have they been taking official visits to other campuses? Yeah,
Thomas Schrader's taken one to Louisville, and now FSU's in a tight battle with them, even though they held a big lead. Now it's kind of 50-50, or I still lean more towards FSU, but still, I mean. And then you have Keziah Holmes. He took the visit to Penn State. Penn State's now leading. FSU was the heavy leader before he even took the Penn State official visit. Now it's Penn State leading, and then Jalen Knighton just took an official visit to Ohio State, and now they are leading. Now both Knighton and Holmes will be at the Saturday Night Live thing coming up. But the point is, when you don't take kids during the official visit in, it's almost like you got an uphill battle to get back to where you were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's just my kind of take on it. Is like, I think it'd be more beneficial if you have guys that are deciding in the summer, you make sure you get them in for the summer for official visits. That's just my take. I'm not hammering on the coaches or anything. That's just my view of things to kind of help yourself out, especially when kids they want to see what you're going to do on the field. So you're already behind the 8 ball a little bit with that. So, it's like you want to make sure you want to give every opportunity that you're showing what your school can be.
Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for WarChant.com and Rivals.com, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. Check out all of his work over on the Premium Recruiting Board. Saturday Night Live, what day is that again? July 27th?
Yes, it's July 27th. It's going to be big. I mean, it's going to be a big event. And I think it's going to be very telling to what they get out of that thing. I mean, I think they coming out of that thing, you want to have a big blast. I mean, we did it last year, Aslan, and they got the best of the best, the elite of the elite. Yes, they didn't sign a lot of those kids, but the fact is, you get them there, anything can happen. And now, like I mentioned, Knighton, Holmes, they're both supposed to be there. So I think they're going to have a good chance to, solidify some stuff and put themselves back to where they were. So I think it's a big opportunity. This is kind of the thing you want to follow. If you're recruiting it, this is the thing you want to follow. That's our last big bash of the summer. You want to follow, all the updates we're going to give as far as everything's happening at this thing, because this is going to be it'll tell a lot about where this recruiting class is going.
And that's a wrap on this edition of Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. On behalf of Michael and Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening. We'll be back Wednesday, Renegade Express, last show of the week, and we'll talk to you then.
The universe is a big place, so you should feel especially lucky you ended up on the same planet with Zaxby's. And right now, we're cooking up our special Cajun Spiced Blackened Chicken for our Cajun Club Sandwich and Black and Blue Salad. It's an intergalactically delicious taste experience, and you don't have to travel light years to get it. The Cajun Club Sandwich and Black and Blue Salad, only at Zaxby's.